Welcome to creating a competitive cover letter workshop or webinar for the ASE program. So who's speaking? It's me, Caroline Haycraft, and my background of 20 years is in education and teaching, and I'm currently teaching in a high school. I've worked with all ages and backgrounds. This is my 5th year teaching this workshop or webinar. That tells you something. I love it for the ASE program. And I've also worked for 15 years for Saturday Academy. So that's a little bit about me and a little picture of me before we get started. It'll be helpful for you to have a pen and paper handy. And just remember, you can stop this recording at any time if you need to take notes. I will go pretty quickly through. All right, so here's what we're doing. We're going to be doing, here's our agenda, and then we'll be looking at the objectives. What are the objectives for this webinar? The purpose of a cover letter. How is a cover letter different to a resume? What are your qualities and skills? So we'll look at a specific activity for you to have that you can take away from this webinar that you can use to figure out what your skills and qualities are. And maybe you know already, and that's great. We're going to look at the difference between a main general cover letter and a position specific cover letter. This is an area where sometimes it gets confusing for folks applying. Then we're going to look at the structure of a cover letter. What's a cover letter do? What does it look like? And then thank you and contact information at the end. So if that all sounds good, we will jump right in there. So here are our session objectives. Identify personal skills and qualities, and I will be referring to those as hard and soft skills. You have a ton of them. We just need to figure out what they are. Then we're going to compare the general cover letter to a specific position cover letter. Then we will examine the purpose and structure of a cover letter. And I've got some samples there for you to look at. And the samples that I use are student samples. So I'm going to ask you to honor that, and please do not copy their work. These are cover letters that have been given to us in good faith, but they are good examples for you to have as roadmaps for how to move forward. Okay, so what is the function of a cover letter and how is it different to a resume? Well, one way that I like to think about a cover letter and how it's different is it's your why and how. As Smokey says, it's only you. There's only one you. And it's why you and how your experiences set you apart from others to make you the best possible candidate for the ASE program or any position that you're applying to. So the ASE program is very competitive. And so we want to make sure that we eliminate as many barriers as possible. And one of those barriers might be not having a good cover letter. We want to make sure you've got a cover letter that gracefully brags about you. All right, so let's look at this. So a cover letter is not a list. That's your resume. And you may not be doing a resume for the ASE program. But for many positions, you're asked to present when you apply, you're asked to put forward a resume and a cover letter. You will have your application with your information on it and the programs or fields of your interest. A resume lists those accomplishments and achievements, but the cover letter goes further. It's that first impression of you. It demonstrates your enthusiasm and why you want this position. It's about you and your interests and how this makes you a good fit or great fit for the organization. It shows, and I'll be talking a lot about showing versus telling. It shows your personal and professional development and future skills. And or your future goals or future skills. I can't say enough about this. It's really important to feel comfortable to talk about yourself personally and professionally. And lastly, it shows why a mentor should pick you over 510 applicants. That's how many we had the year before. I didn't get a count for this year. It might have been more I didn't get a count for last year. It might have been more last year. But we have limited positions. So that year that we had 510 people applying, we only had 150 positions available. So it's very competitive. And we want to make sure that you're one of the applicants that move forward. All right, so a cover letter is your story, right? It functions and reveals your interests and values to the reader to reveal details that are specific to you. Each and every one of you is unique, and if you're applying for this program, you probably already are a high-achieving student or maybe you just have a great passion and interest in science, engineering, or math, and that's great. But you've showed up today to watch this webinar, so that already gives you a head start. So one of the things we want to think about are our skills, these things that make you unique. And so we want to identify and show our skills in our cover letter. So I've got these images here, and you'll notice I've got fast food there, right? I've got a Big Mac maybe, or fries, right? So maybe you're working part-time at a fast food restaurant. Maybe you're babysitting, maybe you're dog walking. You are developing and have already very specific skills for that job. So if it's fast food, right, communication skills, interpersonal skills. If it is you're studying the piano and you're in a band or an orchestra, you've already got some very specific skills: perseverance, your ability to read music, time management. Probably goes across the board for any activity that you're doing outside of school and on the weekend. Swimming, maybe you're on the swim team, maybe you're the captain. Perseverance again, time management, discipline, the ability to work under pressure, receive critical feedback. Maybe you play chess in your spare time, so it might even be something, a hobby that you tinker around at home. So playing chess, strategic thinking, right? Your ability to solve problems, think ahead and see the problem ahead. So these are all amazing skills that the ASE and other companies look for in candidates. And what we call these are hard and soft skills. So I was talking a lot about soft skills, but what are they? I'm saying, okay, hard and soft skills. What are these things, hard and soft skills? So hard skills generally are skills that are very specific and technical. Skills such as coding, algebra, computer programming, advanced physics, accounting. What are the skills that you use in chemistry or that you learn in chemistry when you're conducting experiments? Soft skills are non-technical skills, and they're often referred to as transferable skills because it doesn't matter, right, what a position you're applying for. The skills that you've developed, soft skills, can transfer. Your leadership skills in robotics and swimming transfer over to engineering. Your communication skills, your analytical and critical thinking skills, problem solving skills, perseverance, flexibility. So these soft skills are skills that are not specific and that we develop along the way with any position or job or task or hobby or interest that we have. So hopefully that makes sense. And we will be talking a little further about those skills. In fact, we have an activity to do right now for you to develop those skills and think about those skills. So here's what I call qualities and skills chart. This is really I would say, not just a wonderful document for you to keep, but it's really going to be a really helpful document as you move through in your life as well as in your professional career, because what you'll be doing is with every skill or hobby or activity that you participate in, you can add to this chart and you can develop and flush out the details and the very specific skills that you've learned along the way by participating or doing these activities. So I'd like you to pull out a piece of paper and make 3 columns. And the first column is going to be activities. The what? What are the activities that you do, right? At school or out of school, on the weekends? Could be babysitting, could be robotics. The second column is about the details, right? The specifics of what you do. Did you do those things for 5 hours per week, 2 hours per week? How long have you been doing it? Have you been doing it for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? And then the last column is the description, the qualities and skills, what that activity shows about you, right? So for instance, I've got babysitting as the first activity. How long did this person do it for? They did it for 5 hours per week. That says something about them. These are all of my examples come from high school students that have applied to the ASE program. So this says a lot about them. High school students are busy. You're busy. 5 hours per week. And they did this for 2 years. That says a lot about this person. What skills did they develop along the way? Well, We know they're responsible, reliable, flexible, and caring. So those are some skills. I'm sure there's a ton more. The second one is robotics, right? This person was a team captain for 4 to 5 years. What skills did they develop? Hard skills, science, engineering, math skills, soft skills, problem solving, and communication. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to look at what this might look like on a Google document. And we developed, this was full, but I've taken a few others here just to give you some more examples of activities that could go on here. Notice we've got soccer player, we've got AP biology classes, we've got AP computer science, we've got piano. Notice here, they've just even made some more notes: recreational, competitive, high school teams. Notice in the description, 9 years, 3 hours per week. Soft skills, communication, teamwork, leadership, perseverance, values, critical thinking. I'm sorry, this means they valued critical thinking as a result, right? They were able to take critical thinking, and this is really important because you are going to receive critical feedback in the way you work in the ASE program. Here, AP biology, time management comes up a lot. They've got some hard skills here, biology, and then soft skills, perseverance, teamwork. So you can see here, you can go down the list: AP computer science principles, piano. The length of time is really important. You can approximate it. When you did this, middle school, high school, doesn't matter. Those are the skills, and these are the activities that you've done for a long period of time, or reasonably short period of time. Could be 8 months, approximately 1 year, right? So that's an example of what this chart looks like in a Google Doc. So I'm going to go back. So that's skills. So why are we doing this? These skills and details all go into your cover letter. And your skills and qualities become the main points in your introduction. So doing this and putting the work in is really important. And I would, if I were watching this webinar, I would go back, pause it, and replay, and look at some of the skills and qualities that were on that Word document. All right, we are going to keep going and moving forward. So I was talking a lot about showing versus telling. And so I want to give you some specific examples of what I mean by that before we actually start diving into this 2 types of cover letters that you need for the ASE program. So here's an example of telling. I work part-time as a babysitter. I'm a hard worker, and I know I will do a good job for you. I haven't learned very much about this person. And in fact, you know, I have a very different idea of what work part-time means, right? Part-time for me, having worked for the city of Portland, would be 35 hours and under. Part-time for them might mean working 2 hours per week. I'm a hard worker, and I know I will do a good job for you. Well, I don't know what hard worker means to you. Hard worker to you might mean working 12 hours per day. For me, it might mean working 3 hours per day. A good job, I don't know what that is either. So it's very subjective, and I don't really learn any specifics about this person other than that they were a part-time babysitter. I don't know whether they worked hard, and I don't know what hard worker means. So let's compare this to an introduction that shows us very specific details from the chart that I asked you to create for yourself to help you write a detailed, descriptive, selling, competitive cover letter. So let's have a look. Okay. Here we go. In my part-time job as position as a babysitter, I am required to supervise and manage 2 children under the age of 10. Boom. I know right now exactly what this person is doing, the age group that they are supervising. My dedication and commitment to my work has led me to accumulate numerous clients over the past 2 years. So even though I don't know exactly how many hours per week this person worked, I do know that they have done it for 2 years. And I do know that they have done it well enough to accumulate numerous clients. Again, this is a high school student. I'm going to assume that if they're supervising and managing 2 children under the age of 10, one, that they show up to work on time all the time. They're they're as patient as saints because they've got 2 children and they're both under the age of 10. They have good interpersonal skills and can give clear directions. So I'm assuming a lot of information from the details here. Now, if we look at this, now that we've got the details, is showing us how they babysit and who they are, I know I will bring the same level of responsibility and commitment to your organization. Now, they've identified 2 important skills here, responsibility and commitment. And we know that these are soft skills. And I'm going to take a guess that this person has looked at the job description and has tied 2 soft skills that were advertised in the internship position to the 2 skills that they have developed and acquired as a babysitter. So here's a great example of show. Okay, so show versus tell. So that chart is helping you to show yourself, right, in detail, in a very short period of time. If we look at this as only 2 sentences in this introduction, I'm going to assume it's the introduction, could be maybe the first paragraph, but I know that they're talking about 2 main soft skills here, responsibility and commitment. And I'm going to expect, if this is the introduction, that they're going to be talking about those in their letter. Okay, so getting to probably the most complicated part of applying to the ASE program is, what types of cover letters do you need, right? What is this main or general cover letter and position specific? So you can apply to the ASE program with only 1 cover letter, and that would be a main or general. And this cover letter will identify the 3 areas of your interest, whether it's engineering, math, science, or 2 areas, if you don't have 3, that you will be asked to identify 3 areas. And it's going to highlight the area probably that you're most interested in. It's going to show you in the same way that a specific cover letter would, but it's going to be general for the field, right, of engineering, for the field of mathematics. This cover letter will be used if, so say that a new company applies and you've already put your application in and you've applied to 3 specific companies, as well as having your main general cover letter. This cover letter will be pulled out. Oh, this is a person that's interested in engineering. So there's an advantage to having a main cover letter, as opposed to, we're looking for someone that's interested in, we've got a new position, we're looking for someone that's interested in engineering. They're going to pull out the main. If they don't have a main cover letter there, they may go to a specific, but the specific is going to be talking about a different organization. So that might not look so great, right? If it's a competitive organization, Nike and Adidas, and you've written a specific cover letter for Nike and now it's being used for Adidas. So I hope that makes sense. So you're going to be asked for a main general cover letter for your application. You may choose to do this one, and you can do 1 to 3 position specific letters. And I'm going to go into more detail about both of these. That felt like a lot for that slide. All right, so a main cover letter allows you to sell yourself to any mentor program, but focuses on your top 3 choices of high interest disciplines that you marked on your application. Okay, so it's going to be general enough to cover your disciplines, but it's going to show you, but it's a general main cover letter. Tips for writing a general main cover letter. So be specific about your experiences and skills, right? You're still going to use your chart. I'm interested in, and I'll give you an example, right, in the field of mathematics, right? And then you're going to talk about why you're interested in that field. You want to be honest and show your strengths. You never want to lie in your resume and cover letter, ever. One, you might be asked about that in the interview, and it's a small world, really. When you get into a field of your interest, people talk, people find out. And if it's a skill that you're not being honest about, then it's going to become very obvious that you don't have it. So you don't want to get yourself in a situation that's going to stress you out or also compromise your integrity. All experiences count, right? So when you're thinking about your main general cover letter and your specific, the restaurant job, the dog walking, supermarket, all of your experiences count because they have those transferable skills. Be enthusiastic, sell yourself. I was reading a lot of cover letters for the STEAM program, and a lot of folks were saying, I hope that I will be a good fit for your organization. I would say reframe that and say, I know I will be a good fit for your organization. So here's where I was saying earlier, you want to brag about yourself with grace. Be enthusiastic, sell yourself. 3,000 characters, that's one page. So make sure it's just one page. And that actually is something that, that you're going to take with you after you graduate high school and go into college. Or cover letters are one page. You do not mention specific organizations in a main cover letter, right? That can be a ding. They see that you really want this organization, but you're applying, or your letters come to them and now they feel like you don't really want to work for them. So you don't want that to happen. Do not put your contact info or mentor's name at the top of your letter. So because of you've got all your information in the application, we're just pulling the letters and they're just reading the letters. So you don't need a salutation, dear sir or madam or anything. You can go jump right into your cover letter, and then you've got more words for your cover letter. All right. So here's an example, and I think this will be really helpful. Again, this is a student example. It's not perfect, but it addresses the point that I'm talking about, and it's a good example. I have great interest in an internship with innovation. I am a junior at blah, blah, blah school. I applied to the blah, blah, blah ASE in order to gain more experience to become a computer or electrical engineer. So here, we know that they want an internship that involves innovation. We know that they've applied to whatever department field. I'm highly interested in engineering and computer science because of how technology can lead to a highly sophisticated world. And what's great about this is that they've said what they're highly interested in, and they're thinking about the future, because it can lead to a highly sophisticated world. You might be interested in ending global warming or slowing global warming down, so how do you want to use your skills to make the world a better place? So this is great. They're showing that they're thinking ahead. I think I would be a great fit for the internship because of my strong mathematical skills. So here we have the hard skills, my enthusiasm to expand upon different coding languages and databases. Again, we've got more hard skills, and my flexibility to work in a small group. So this person's done their research. They know that this internship wants strong mathematical skills, coding, and that they are going to be working in small groups. So they've added their quality there. Maybe the internship asked for flexibility. I'm guessing they asked for flexibility when working with small groups. So they've tied this to so I shouldn't say to the specific internship, but what I would say they've done is that they've looked at general qualities in that field that you might be asked to do, and small group work and research often comes up. So they've taken those qualities that are general qualities for that field, and then they've integrated that into their main cover letter. I know I made that a bit confusing, but I hope that makes sense. Okay, so if you need to take a break, but we are going to move to a position-specific cover letter. So we just talked about that main cover letter that's going to go in your file whenever a new position comes up, and that internship position hasn't been filled. That main cover letter is going to be the cover letter that the ASE program leader is going to be reading and plopping in to the application pile for that particular internship. Here's a position-specific cover letter. And you probably figured this out, right? This cover letter is tailored to the organization and matches their skills with yours. So this is really important because it allows you to shine, and you get to say, hey, me, I'm the right person for this. I'm the perfect candidate for this internship. So there's a big advantage to a position-specific cover letter. All right, it also shows how you fit the culture. And this is why it's so important for you to do your research. Go in, it's a competitive program. You want to show them that you will fit the culture. And I like this little example because it shows how to really pop yourself out as opposed to sort of just talking about yourself. So this isn't one of ours. This is one that I took from Indeed.com. I fell in love with basketball at a very young age. Not only do I love the sport itself, but I also love the numbers behind the scores. Because of this lifelong interest in sports and numbers, I believe I would be an excellent candidate for and this was the Washington Wildcats. So what's great about this is, one, they're showing their passion. They could have said, hey, I played basketball, when I was in elementary school, and I've been playing part-time. in high school? Well, they could see that probably on their resume, but they say, I fell in love with basketball at a very young age. And then they go on to say, not only do I love the sport, I love the numbers behind the sport. So I'm going to assume that they're going for a statistics or a financial position for the Washington Wildcats. And because of this lifelong interest, right, in sports and numbers, I believe I'd be an excellent candidate. Right. So excellent candidate. So there's this really nice, graceful bragging, but they're saying, I'm going to be that candidate for this program. They're showing how they fit the culture. All right. So let's look at moving on here to an internship position that was on the ASE intern list 2 years ago. And I like this because it's an opportunity for you to look at a position. So internship activities will include, but not be limited to. So look at this: data acquisition, data analysis, review of documentation processes, and working with stakeholders, right? So you have a lot of information here that I would be writing this down on my piece of paper. Wow. Note that there's more than one position, depending upon your interest, experience, and aptitude. Now look at this. You can talk about your interest in your cover letter, your experience and your aptitude, right? Your ability to perform that task. The intern will be afforded opportunities to work with the BPA's financial controls, ethics, purchasing, and or FERC tariff governance and compliance programs. This was a particularly long advertisement for an internship, but it has so much great detail. I really wanted to point that out. And I'll talk about this having more than one internship at that organization, because this comes up if you're applying to Oregon State University. There's often more than one internship. Preference will be given to applicants with a strong interest. Notice they don't say strong, strong experience. They say interest in cyber, electrical engineering, or compliance industry, in addition to strong analytical and interpersonal skills. So here are those soft skills again. Successful candidates will have both strong written and verbal communication skills. So we know right away that I'm going to be tying, if I were applying for this internship, I would be applying my analytical skills, right, from one of my activities, hobbies, or courses, and my interpersonal skills, right? So here's where that part-time job at McDonald's, babysitting, job walking, those transferable skills come in, right? Playing chess, robotics, the debate team. Successful candidates will have strong both written and verbal communication skills. Pay attention to that. I'm going to say you want to have a lot of eyes on your cover letter, not just one set of eyes. Your English teacher or language arts teacher, your parents, the relative that runs a business, anyone that you can get to look at your cover letter. The more feedback, the better. Particularly if you apply for an internship where they're talking about written communication skills. Because when I was working for the city, and I would be getting hundreds of applications for one position, I was looking for those cover letters that I could put into Don't Move Forward. And it's awful, I know, but I had so many applications that it was like, okay, the cover letter had typos, grammar. They didn't show anything about themselves. They just listed the resume. I would move them to the list of Don't Move Forward. We want your cover letter to move into the list of moving forward. Okay, so let's look at some tips here. So you're tying, for that specific cover letter, you're tying their skills that they advertise, right, with your skills, right? And you're finding the ones that you can transfer over when you write your cover letter. Tips: match your skills, match your attributes to what they offer, right? The organization skills. Remember that enthusiasm, work ethic, and perseverance are key qualities. This is really important because of I was an ASE mentor this summer, and a lot of my cohort talked about, wow, I didn't realize research was so much repetition and daily repetition of tasks. That comes up. You don't mind doing those tasks, honestly, when you really love the field and you're committed to the field and it's something you want to do. It can become really difficult if you're not interested in the field. So that enthusiasm needs to come into your letter, right? Because they're going to be looking for that. They're going to be looking for that work ethic, right? So those tasks that you do, those hobbies that you do, your after school clubs, those are all really important. Work ethic, key, perseverance, your ability to problem solve. A lot of the interns, you know, they had to work on their own and problem solve and bring that information back to their mentor. Explain how your experiences have prepared you for this position. That's really important, right? And remember, they said interest in. So you can talk about how, you know, your science classes, you have a great interest in biology because of those classes. And you can talk more about those classes in your cover letter. No more than 3,000. We talked about that. 1 page. Do not put your contact information. Don't have to do dear sir or madam. All right. So those are the differences in the 2 types of letters that you will be applying with. But here we have the structure of a cover letter. This is basically the structure, beginning, middle, and end. It's a story, right? Your beginning and middle, your introduction, it's like an essay, 2 to 3 sentences. That's all you need in your introduction. Your body and middle is the 1 to 2 paragraphs. And those are your main skills that you're going to be talking about in the order that you present them in the introduction, just like you would for an essay. And then your closing is going to be 2 to 3 sentences. And that's probably going to be your easiest because there's very specific things you need to have in the closing. The introduction is also very specific, but it's a little more challenging than the closing. But closing sometimes is a great place to start with a cover letter because it's got a little more formula. All right, so the beginning, your introduction, the opening paragraph is 2 to 3 sentences. It's brief and needs to include the internship position and the company you're applying to. All right. So this is if it's position specific, it might be the field. And I forgot to update this. We did this with the STEAM program. And so if you're applying for if you're using your introduction in the general main cover letter will be the field of interest, not the company. So just make sure you make a note of that for the main and general cover letter. So for the specific, you want to make sure you have that internship position. Remember, there was more than one in Bonneville Dam. You want to make sure you're not going into financing when you wanted to be in ethics, right? And you want them to know this is the company that I wanted to apply to. State why you're applying. State your enthusiasm for the internship position. That's really important. You've got to show that in your letter. State your qualifications and skills. That's where that chart comes in, 2 to 3. And how those qualifications and skills benefit the organization. So let's look at an introduction. Again, this is a student sample. Please do not copy these. You can use them for ideas. With great enthusiasm, I am writing to apply for the biomedical research position at such and such company. So right off the bat here, we see the enthusiasm. With great enthusiasm. I said, they didn't just say I'm applying for the biomedical. They said, with great enthusiasm, I'm applying for the biomedical research position at blah, blah, blah company. As a rising junior at Lincoln High School, preparing for a bachelor's degree in biomedical science. So right off the bat here, right? They're letting them know where they are in their education at school. You can put the school, it's optional. If it personalizes it more for you and gives them more of an idea, sure, but it's not necessary. You could just say I'm a rising junior in the Portland Public School District or whatever school district. So that's optional there. But what's great about this is they're letting them know, hey, I'm preparing for a bachelor's degree in biomedical science. I'm thinking about this for the future. I'm thinking about where I'm going to be. And this is the field they want to be in. This is important because they also want to nurture. The company wants to nurture future scientists. So that's of value. You might not think it is, but it is. I seek this internship to broaden my learning experiences. So again, they've talked about why they're applying. I welcome this opportunity to contribute my STEM enthusiasm and interpersonal skills to your research team. So notice here, I welcome the opportunity to contribute my STEM enthusiasm. So maybe they don't have a lot of STEM, but they're saying they're enthusiastic about it and they want to learn more, right? And they want to share it with their interpersonal skills. So again, those soft skills. I'm going to assume that research team, that this position that said that they were going to be on a research team, and we know that communication is going to be really important for a research team. So that's our introduction. Let's move to the middle, or the body, right? The supporting paragraphs. 1, 2. I've got 2 fingers up because it's generally 2. It could be 3. Sometimes what people do, you'll notice in one of the examples that I had before, they'll put 2 skills together that are interrelated. I think we had coding and something else with computer. So how you do that, that's up to you. All right, so it needs to discuss, explain your qualifications and skills, and demonstrate how they qualify you for the position, and then distinguish how these skills distinguish you from other applicants, what you can do for the organization, why you. So you've always got to think in the back of your mind as you're going through this, why these skills are important to the company. So here's an example of a body paragraph. Again, and this is a student example, and yeah, sometimes they're not totally perfect, but they're good examples. My affinity for biology exists because biology knowledge is revolutionary. It fuels healthcare and thus the state of well-being. So right here, they're talking about what biology means to them and their interpretation of it. Without biology knowledge to promise physical well-being, one would never possess the circumstances to achieve happiness. So also this person is demonstrating their ability to think big picture and write it in a very, I'm going to say, abstract way. This may not be your style of writing, right? You may be very specifically hitting the skills that you have and what you've done with them. I have personally witnessed the health misfortunes of others and hope to alleviate such fortunes. So that they've given a little bit more about themselves, and that they're stating that they're very committed to this because they've had a personal experience, and they're also hoping to alleviate them in the future. Again, they're thinking about the future. For this reason, I plan on studying biology in college and conducting biomedical research to help others achieve their deserved quality of life. So they haven't gone into specifics here in terms of like the exact details of how they've used those, but they're talking about it in a way that shows that they're very vested in this field. All right. So now we're going to move to the conclusion, which I say is the easiest part, the closing paragraph, right? 2 to 3 sentences. It's brief and needs to include the following. States how to contact you, hours and days. This is really important. If you're only available at a certain time, put that on your cover letter. Remember, you are making it easy for the person reading your cover letter. If you say, contact me, blah, 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 and you're not available at, you say, contact me on these days, but you don't give the times, they may call. Right during the day, you're going to be in class. You can't take the call. So making it very clear is really important. Generally, it's Monday to Friday, right? But it might not be for you for whatever reason. Maybe you work on one day, right? 1 day per week, and so now you can't be reached on Fridays. That's important for them to know. State your desire to give more information, phone or interview, and I'll explain this a little bit more as we go through. But again, it's like, hey, I'm here. I'm happy to share more. States that you look forward to hearing from them. States your conflicts, if any, and optional. So that is optional. You can put it in there in your conclusion. You don't have to. Thanks the reader for their time and consideration. And this is really important. You show that grace. And I think this also says something about you being considerate of their time if you state it up front. Important too, because maybe that's going to be an important week for them during the internship. All right, so here's an example of the closing. Finally, thank you for your time and consideration. So this person chose to thank them right up front. I am very excited to learn more about your internship opportunity and to share how I'm a great fit for the biomedical research position. So they're opening the door, right? I'm excited to share more. I am always available by email, and I can speak over the phone on weekdays after 4 p.m. So this is great. You just made my job easier. I know that I'm going to be able to contact you by email anytime, and I know not to call you before 4. I look forward to hearing from you. So as you can see, the conclusion is a little easier and has very specific things. So here's your checklist. We are coming up to the end. Here's your checklist for and what to remember, right? Contact info must work. This is important. Make sure that your phone number is working. Phone has a professional voicemail. Check it regularly. Make sure when I say that, your name, when you can be reached, and how quickly you return their call. This is really important. Do not have a long message that goes on for 2 minutes that they have to listen to. It's important. People, mentors are busy. They're usually teaching students, grad students, sometimes undergrad as well. Or if you're working for an organization, they're supervising other employees. So it's really important that your voicemail is very professional. You also want to have a professional email. If they're busy and they're getting lots of candidates, it's easy to find someone. If they put their name in the search and your name comes there, it's also a good reminder of who you are when they see your name and they open up your email or your letter. Create if you don't have one. Check regularly every day, March 6th to April 12th. State specific hours to reach you. We talked about that. State conflict of interest, optional, but important if it's going to be a bit like for a week. Don't have too many conflicts if you don't have to put too many on your letter. If you apply, they expect you're available. Good luck. There's only one you. And if you have trouble getting started, here's a way to start. Go to the ASE website. You just did that. Find 3 internships that interest you. Read the description of each organization. Write a list of requirements. Write the list, the skills, then share. So if you're looking at your general, you could see what there are going to be shared skills that each field is going to have. They are going to be shared transferable and technical skills. So list those, then identify your skills, compare those, tie your skills to theirs, their field of discipline. Write a sentence. So, maybe you struggle with writing, maybe you don't. Write a sentence that ties your skills. So it's kind of like writing a thesis statement would be in your introduction, could be a way to start, right? So you write a sentence that ties your skills and qualities to the general skills of the organization you've chosen. That could be one way that you start. You could create an outline for your letter. You could start by writing your introduction or conclusion. All right, so good luck. Thank you for being here. If you've got more questions about the ASE program, we've got resources for the cover letter writing class, and we've also got resources for interviewing. But here's the email if you have any further questions. Good luck. You got this. There's only one you.